Hi everyone and welcome back to the StudyTube Project. My name's Lydia and today I thought I'd do a little video introducing you to the concept of the psychological contract in the workplace. This is something that I learned about in my module Organisational Behaviour at university. I study business management at Leeds, if you don't know, and I thought it was really interesting because I think it's one of those things that if you've been employed or are currently employed, that you will have done without realising that there is actually study behind it and there's an actual theory behind it. So the concept was developed by a university professor called Denise Rousseau. I think that's how you pronounce her last name. I don't know if she was the one that originally created the idea. I don't think she was, but I do know that she was very important in the development of the theory. So when you enter employment, when you start a job, you usually sign a contract that states your responsibilities, your duties in that role and in that job. However, you also enter an unsigned contract, which is the theory of the psychological contract. So this is basically an unwritten set of rules and expectations that the employee has of the organisation, their employer, and the organisation also has of the employee. So it's a mutual set of expectations. Because it's an unwritten contract, it's more of a notion, it's more of a concept, it can be quite hard to measure and define because it's also very dependent on the individual. The contract differs from individual to individual, it differs from organisation to organisation. It's also a very dynamic and fluid contract. It can change a lot over time and that makes it hard to measure as well. However, the dynamics of it, as I will later talk about, can be both positive and negative. Positive because flexibility is always good in the workplace, but also negative because it means it can be easily overwritten and easily disregarded when it suits either party. So for example, some unwritten rules or expectations that the employee might have of the organisation could be things such as respect from the boss, rewards and recognition for their hard work, a safe working environment, fair treatment in the workplace. And on the other hand, the unwritten expectations that the organisation might have of the employee may be things such as loyalty, professionalism in the workplace, keeping in line with the culture and the values of the company. So it's things like that that you wouldn't have written in the actual contract of employment because it's a lot more to do with behaviour and attitude and values and treatment. So obviously each individual employee is going to have their own psychological contract, their own expectations and rules that they have of the organisation. However, from a wider organisational view, they often refer to the plural of psychological contracts, so psychological contracts, because from an organisational point of view, they often view employees as more of a collective. So they look at the collective view and the collective action of a workplace rather than the individual one. However, this does depend on the size of the organisation and also the structure of the organisation. Therefore, the overall psychological contracts of the workplace are more often a focus of leadership. However, of course, these expectations can change over time, and that is why the psychological contract can be a very fluid and dynamic contract. In terms of employees, things can change in their personal life, they could just change their opinion, and this is therefore going to change their expectations of the company. And likewise, the organisation might change their direction, they might take on a new project, hire new staff, which in turn is going to change their expectations too. Of course, the psychological contract isn't legally binding, however, if it is broken, there are consequences for both parties. So for example, if the contract isn't met on the employee's behalf, say that they aren't getting the respect that they deserve or the recognition for their hard work that they deserve, this might be very demotivating, and in turn their production output isn't going to be as high. They might start bad-mouthing the company, which of course is going to have consequences for the organisation too, because they're going to have lower output and it might start affecting the reputation of the company. So This is why it's in the interest of both parties to uphold the psychological contract and make sure that the terms are being met. So yeah, that is a quick introduction to the concept of the psychological contract. I hope that this made sense. It's one of those theories that is quite hard to define and actually put your finger on because it is so up for interpretation and it's so individualistic. But if you have any further questions, then feel free to leave them down below in the description and I will try to answer them to the best of my ability. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, then make sure to leave the video a like and subscribe to the StudyTube Project for more interesting videos. I've also created a whole business playlist now on the StudyTube Project, so it's got a few videos of mine that I did to do with business, and it's also got some videos regarding business from other creators, so make sure to have a look at that if that is something that you are interested in. Bye guys!